Everybody, no Andrew McIrvine today. He's got a problem. They have a problem in cows with the internet. Apparently the broadband has gone down, so we're going to postpone him 1 week till next Friday. Welcome, everybody. Ed Worley, James Frederick Blandworth, 108 degrees in Texas. Tier DeYoung in SoCal. Christopher Gillingham over on the Solent. Peter Taylor in New York. Jonathan Frank in Galveston. Alistair Murray on. Pedro Foiling Sailor. Gordon Smith in Denmark. Pedro Foiling Sailor, of course, in Sydney, presumably. Ed Worley, I predicted the AC40 Grand Prix. He did indeed, as we get this one across the starting line.
I don't.
You don't what? You were saying?
Have the comments.
Well, you got to push your button and remember that lower right-hand corner.
I know, but it says Governor's Cup.
Well, click the other one. There's two down links. I have the comments. Carlos Aviz in Brasilia. Ted Ryman in Cape Town. Jay Rendell. Hello, Jay. White Bear Lake. Jay and I are working on a promotion and a little insight, a video with a top Olympic sailor from the U.S., from Minnesota. And Don Lunabos is in Sonoma across the bridge. You got your comments now?
Mm-mm.
Well, we'll do it here during the first video, but sorry to say that we won't have Andrew McIrvine today. As I said, they got an internet problem in Cows where he has been standing by. We had a back and forth over on tech this morning and decided just to, discretion being the better part of valor, we'll put it off until he's back in London a week from today. So we'll have Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvine on next Friday. Julia, other than your comments not working?
Oh, I'm occupied with poor old Lahaina and the yacht club and that whole area. I drive.
Well, you spent a lot of time in
Lots
Maui.
of time.
You spent a lot of time there.
Yes.
Well, we're all occupied. We're going to open the show with a segment on that in a moment. We're live, as usual, from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. This photo that we have is Andrew rounding the Fastnet Rock lighthouse there.
It's him.
Yeah, it's him some years ago. This is this whole show I put together because we thought we were going to have Andrew on here with us.
I know.
I'm your host, Tom Eamon, representing the Balboa Yacht Club. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate very much your coming on, as always, as we get this one on the road. Speaking of Lahaina, I'm sure you've all seen it in your news, wherever in the world you are. Now, just to do a little bit of geography here. First of all, I have a brother who lives in Maui. He's been there, Paul. My brother Paul has been there some 40 years, and he's up here on the North Shore. He's in Paia, away from the flames, and he's actually in Michigan at our home club, and with my dad in Michigan. Has been there for some weeks, but he tells me that out here, this is Lanai, this is the north and obviously west side of the island, looking over to the island that Larry owns, Lanai, and it's been a mess. I mean, it's a tragic mess. And Paul, my brother, just texted me and said there's something like 1,000 people, he says, missing, and he's talking to all of his mates there, and sadly is saying that there's quite a mess. They're still finding people in the water who they were downtown Lanai or on Front Street or on the waterfront, and this thing swept over the hill from the hurricane that was well south of the island, swept the flames, and they don't know how it started, if power lines went down or if it was something else. Swept the flames into Lanai, and literally burned Lahaina rather than Lanai. Thank you.
Yeah.
And literally burned the town to a crisp down in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And so much so that they were unable to get Hawaii has one of the best early warning systems, speakers and sirens and everything, because for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is there was that fake it wasn't fake, it was false nuclear attack some years ago, and they thought that North Korea or somebody had launched, and the island panicked, and they didn't have a proper system, and apparently even the system of going on to texting.
Yes.
Which, these days right here, you get, I don't know how many different government texts on your phone, right? And they apparently people didn't even get that. So my bro Paul says that he has a company there that does production work for television commercials and television shows and movies. and he's got a warehouse full of stuff, and he's got a bunch of people that work for him. So when somebody comes to Maui to do a show, he does a lot of, for example, Oprah Winfrey's stuff when she's there. She's a resident there on and off, right?
Yes.
And he says all of our crew and equipment are out in the rescue effort, which continues. So just a quick look at that sad situation. You know the geography of the Hawaiian Islands, the big island, Hawaii, down there in the lower right corner, and then up through Maui and Lanai, Larry's Island, off to the west. And that's the island where we are focused. Honolulu further to the northwest, across the Molokai Channel, the famous windy and beautiful final ride into Honolulu, into the end of the Transpac race, which ended some weeks ago now. Sad situation, though, and King, how do you say it, Julia?
Kamehameha.
Kamehameha established Lahaina as the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii in 1820. Mm-hmm. And the town served as its capital for the next 25 years. During much of the 19th century, the historic town became a center for the kingdom's fishing and, of course, whaling industries. The Lahaina Historic District, downtown Lahaina, which encompasses, well, Front Street and downtown, and the area surrounding it, was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1962. As such, many of the historic buildings had been preserved and were open to the public.
And they're all flat right now.
And, well, we're going to show you some pictures, and basically downtown is gone, including the Lahaina Yacht Club.
Right.
So there is, the arrow shows you where, of course, that west end, that northwest corner, west end of Maui, where Lahaina was, still is, but that's downtown, and you can see here on the map, Front Street right here. We'll show some more pictures. The famously cool Lahaina Yacht Club, small, but with reciprocal clubs all over the world. And keep an eye, and I'm going to show you in a moment in a photo. This is the Pioneer Mill smokestack, the old sugarcane, I guess, factory. And that smokestack is still up, but it gives you an idea then from the smokestack down to the waterfront what is left, which is virtually nothing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. So there is the smokestack. And before this week,
that's the Lahaina Yacht Club Burgee.
That is the Lahaina Yacht Club Burgee in the upper right corner. I've added that to these shots, the whaling Burgee. There is the club. You see the flagpole. From the street side, from Front Street, it's a pretty modest looking, it looks like a t-shirt shop, like a lot of tourist shops there on Front Street. But you get into the club and go upstairs, and it's fabulous. The Lahaina Yacht Club there, of course, in Maui, in Hawaii, in the USA. There is the front on Front Street. Nothing to write home about.
No. And they don't want it to be.
Exactly. And you said when we were doing the pre-show, some of the locals are trying to get rid of Lahaina Yacht Club. Why?
To get profitable business there.
Well, they are. I think the Lahaina Yacht Club has been bringing for years hundreds, thousands of people from around the world with all of these reciprocal clubs. Yeah. That I went onto their website, and there are literally hundreds of reciprocal. St. Francis is listed as a reciprocal.
Well, and our Burgee's flying.
And no doubt. There are a bunch of them. And it is a cool place.
It is.
A lot of fun, very low key, exceedingly low. You can probably identify a good chunk of those Burgees, those of you watching. They're in the bar, and the vista, the view out from the upper deck, that's not even the upper deck. It is the upper deck, is just second to none. It rivals St. Francis, Julia, for a view. That's the look through the flagpole over to Larry's Island, Lanai, with the Burgee atop, and of course the state flag. And why, Julia, is the state flag have the Union Jack in the corner?
Because it was British.
No, because the king was just so fond of the British royalty, he wanted to pattern himself and his island and his island kingdom after the British and the British royalty. So he adopted the Union Jack into the state flag.
I thought they did it. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the British never had it. In fact, didn't they kill Captain Cook? Isn't that where he met his demise? I can't remember. but it's the front street at night, especially, is fabulous. And Julia, as we looked quickly through the slides before the show, just thinking about what a wonder. And you and your late husband spent
every year we were there.
Time in Mountain,
every
right?
year we were there.
Look at that beautiful evening view. Well, it all changed 3 nights ago. Have a look at this.
We're done. Yeah, we're done.
This video from a friend of my brother
Right
Paul's.
here, there's debris all. Yeah. No. No.
And that just short. But again, as my brother texted just before we went to air, they're still finding bodies badly burned and otherwise in the water because they were caught unawares, obviously, and couldn't go back through town, couldn't go along Front Street, so they jumped in the ocean to get away from the flames.
Yeah, and the roads were blocked, or so there was no way. Even if you had a car that was running at the time, you couldn't get out.
Well, worse than that, there were still lots of hot spots, even as of this morning. I was looking at news reports.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get them put out, but communication is down, obviously. The big marina, that was yesterday. A lot of smoke still emanating from the various hot spots. But there's a look. Again, you can see the smokestack, the top of the smokestack in the back, right there. And the yacht club is right down here in the city front, on Front Street. And it is no longer. There's another look at that same area.
Yeah.
A smokestack to the left out of this shot. And speaking, Julie, of the cars,
yeah,
I mean, people just abandoned their cars. They ran for their life, and as you said, jumped in the ocean. A lot of them. Tell us about this tree.
Yes, it's a 180-year-old banyan tree
From India. The tree was just an 8-foot sapling when it was planted in 1873. A gift shipped from India to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the first Protestant mission in Lahaina. It was planted a quarter of a century before the Hawaiian Islands became even a U.S. territory, let alone a state, 7 decades after King Kamehameha declared Lahaina the capital of his kingdom. We've been looking at the website, their Facebook page, that is Lahaina Yacht Club. We've been looking at their Instagram page, and this was the only thing I could find on their Facebook page, sadly saying that Lahaina Yacht Club SailFlow, their weather station that they transmit data to SailFlow, is down. Indeed, we've since learned that the entire club is down. You maybe saw on my Facebook page this morning this post from their Instagram page. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with thoughts and prayers. The LYC clubhouse may be gone, but it is the community that matters, which I think is exactly, Julia, the right spirit. And they will rise again, just as did the Southern Yacht Club after Katrina. And a nice note from Guy Briere, don't call me Guy, Guy Briere, a past Commodore and a Fozy at the Southern Yacht Club, who posted, so true, as they learned at Southern after Hurricane Katrina, best wishes on your rebirth. But I think the rebirth of the club, Julia, is probably the last of their concern right now, as the search and rescue efforts is now, it's not even search and rescue probably anymore. It's a sad situation. And thanks to my brother Paul for keeping us posted via his friends and family.
I haven't heard from any of my friends that I've contacted there.
Well,
I'm not number one in their list by a chance, but I still haven't.
Well, I think too, communications. I mean, it's just
there's nothing in
Lahaina, right? Sad situation, and that gets us through that disturbing and difficult first segment for today's show. Andrew Watson checking in from Glasgow, venue for the inaugural UCI Cycling World Championships. Okay, that's the International Federation for Cycling. Chris Exley, hi, Chris. Alex Hayworth, Andrew McIrvine is impossible to beat, and I've given up trying. Jeff Ogles checking in from Annapolis. Thank God it's Friday. Donna Walker, it's really Bob. Glad to be here with you guys, as we are to have you. Bob, thank you for joining Stingray. I hope today is another International Drinking Day. It's actually not. We're going to do something in honor of Andrew. Lovely scarf, Julia.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan Frank saying, Andrew Pindar, is internet problem a euphemism for a party problem? No, we were on early and checking, and he tried a couple different things, and we were going to almost try it by phone, with a cellular connection, but that's never good. He's so good, we'd rather have a great connection.
Yes.
Postpone a week when he's back in London at home. Lahaina Yacht Club was Windward Passage's hailing port back when Bob Johnson originally built and owned her. Indeed, that is why it had the sperm whale on her transom back then, and I believe still does. That boat is in Newport Beach, California. Davy Johnson, no relation to Bob. Davy Johnson is the captain of that boat and a good friend, and better known as Half Deck. Half Deck. Most houses, buildings are built of wood in Hawaii. This is Wingrove's comment. Thanks, Bill. And are very close together, promoting something like, and it's not the first time this sort of thing has happened. Hawaii is normally quite dry. They get some wind, there's a spark. So it's not.
But they've never had anything like this.
Well, this is the worst, right? The governor said last night it's probably the worst tragedy in Hawaii's recorded history. We are all here thinking of the people from Lahaina at this time, including the ex-crew of the Royal Viking Sun. Graham Sweeney is saying. Lanai, Stingray agrees, was such a beautiful town. Fog machine. Let's get to the other important stuff. Did it burn down Willie Nelson or Don Nelson's dope farms? If not, they'll burn them down themselves. Yeah, Stingray, even the banyan, is it banyan or banyan? How do you say that, Julia?
Banyan.
Banyan tree burned, but is the banyan tree dead?
We don't know. Nobody knows.
We don't know, right?
Too early to tell. It's
Tom Pace. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's bruised and singed, but it's also hardy. So,
well, and it's got, how those trees grow. You know better than I.
Yeah.
The branches go out and then they fall down. In fact, they hang bottles of water, pails of water onto the branches to get them to go down to the ground and then reroot. So the thing's got a whole lot of roots, right?
Yep.
Is that the way those work? I lived on Maui 17 years. Tom Pace is either the Commodore or the past Commodore, esteemed at that, of the Pensacola Yacht Club. Hi, Tom. He lived on Maui 17 years, good pals with my brother Paul. My house was up country where fires happened from storm winds that knocked down trees that took out power lines, numerous gulches that have thick underbrush and subject to updrafts and downdrafts that fueled some of the trouble up the mountain. Improving now, hoping for better still. Ed Worley saying Captain Cook. Who did I say? Didn't I say Captain Cook, Ed? Thank you. Really tragic what's happening over there. Andrew Watson saying, learned more about it in the last 5 minutes than I've heard on the news all week. Well, we have a warm place in our heart for it, not only because my brother's there and because Julia's visited any number of times.
How about 30?
30? Is that right?
Easy.
Wow. Stingray said, I sailed on a 12 out of Lahaina tourist thing out towards Lanai, and the channel out there has beautiful conditions. What a tragedy. Fires, Ted Ryman saying, are so devastating. This is so sad. Indeed. It was American. It was an old American two-boat, Stingray, or Wingrove says. My brother-in-law did the same a number of years ago. Lots of comments. US 44. Peter Taylor says, now beer coasters. Okay, so it is apparently 44, which is the second of our three boats in the 87 campaign, 42, 44, and 46. And Julia, do you know why they were all even numbers?
No.
In those days, the numbers from boats were not necessarily issued sequentially. You could apply to U.S. Sailing or I guess it was U.S. Sailing to get numbers for your meter boats. And if you wanted, you could more or less apply for a number that was not used and was not too far out in the future. And it was considered, up until Dennis won with 55, US 55 in 87, it was considered very bad luck to A, be in a red boat, or B, have an odd number 12. No odd number 12 had ever won the cup. So we applied for 42, 44, and 46. A piece of trivia that I think.
That's interesting to know.
I think Peter Taylor knew that. I sailed on that 12 there too. So a lot of you have sailed there, and it's a wonderful spot. And we will be covering that, thinking about them, wishing anybody connected with Lahaina Yacht Club and Maui.
There was no better party following the Transpac than not in Honolulu, but at the Lahaina Yacht Club with the crew of
Spit it out.
oh gosh, I just went out of my head.
Windward Passage.
Windward Passage.
Windward Passage, you're name dropping, Julia.
Yes.
The New York Yacht Club made a deal with Charlie Morgan to get 24 from him, as Valiant was to be 23. Heritage was actually the last Wood 12. Look at Bill Wingrove comes through with one.
Yeah.
Hawaii was under British rule from 1794 to 1795. Okay, Julia.
Thank you, Graham.
I take it back. Well done, Graham Sweeney. Thank you. Since Thomas, an encyclopedia, who did 12M number 13 go to? Did anyone get 13? Stingray? That's that I can tell you that in the IACC, in the International America's Cup class,
Yeah.
which we had decided, the guys, John Longley, myself, the others, Ian Murray, that got that class up and running, Ken McAlpine, we decided we would issue the numbers sequentially, come hell or high water. And we got to 100 or 101, I can't remember now, in the period that class was used through 2007, before the 2010 D2 gift match. Two numbers were not taken originally, 13. Nobody wanted 13, so we skipped that. And then Ken McAlpine said, well, I really don't think anyone's going to want number 69, IACC 69, so we'll skip that. And I think I've said on this show before, the French came back and said, we like 69.
I know, right? Yes.
We like 69. We'll take that number.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Tegestology, did I say that right, Gordon Smith? Is the hobby of collecting beer mats and coasters. Tegestology?
Oh, that's a new one.
That's a new one. Boy, you learn something new here every day.
Time, right?
Speaking of new, we have a new segment to get us out of the dumps over this tragic situation in Lahaina. I'm just calling it Friday Photos with the German F for photos. And you all send me these great photos, or I collect them, and then I don't usually use them on the show. They're on my Facebook page or the SI Facebook page. But I got so many comments on this one. I put it up, I guess, last Monday or Tuesday, and Leo Takahashi, one of our FOSI, who is over there racing in Den Haag, commented on this, and he said that is George Gowtry from New Zealand. And I think the RNZ Yacht Squadron posted, I'm not sure where this came from, but two great photos. Maybe even John Emmett put these up as part of his segment. Tough boat and even tougher fleet, Dale Scoggins said. Fritz Mueller saying that sail looks like crap. Well, I think that's probably a practice sail, Fritz. I don't think that's a racing sail. But I love the photo. And speaking of Leo, Leonard Takahashi put this up on, I think, on his Insta page. John said he interviewed him in Palma, that is George Gowtry. So that was at that regatta earlier this year. So Leo put this up. He's there racing in the 49er, hoping again to be Japan's rep at the Olympics. He said, this is my annual pre-Worlds post. The prep is finished, and we are feeling ready. Now the exciting part of going out there and racing against the world's best, LFG. Thanks to everyone who has got us here. Now, Julia, for extra credit, do you know what LFG means?
I was going to ask you.
I texted Leo this morning, and either he didn't want to say or was too embarrassed, but it means let's freaking go.
Oh.
Let's freaking go. LFG. The kids, that's popular kind of street slang these days. There's some comments now about boat number 69. I'm not going to read James Bland's comment, but you all can. It's Boomer Bland's. There was a popular French Serge Gainsborough song, 16. Okay, you guys, let it go. The Marina Safeway. LFG, it's a finger wag, Bill Wingrove says. Julia? No, it's just let's go. Let's freaking go. I think that's okay. Is that a finger wag?
Not
from Leo.
Not pronounced that way, no.
Well, that's, it's because I'm discreet here. Okay, some more photos. That's thanks to Leo, Leonard Takahashi, who is, he's has a Japanese mom and a Kiwi dad, and he is in Den Haag hoping to qualify for Japan, and there's some others too in that class. Now, speaking of cool photos, this one, which I'm using at the bottom of the show for, is this team of youth from Stanford Yacht Club are going into the finish line. Thanks again to this is Larchmont Yacht Club, I should say. This is I think a Stanford Yacht Club team sailing in the Larchmont Yacht Club's JBB Junior Big Boat class win in what's called the Dorade Cup, which is around the buoy series as well as an offshore regatta. But I checked in with the Fuzzy Fozy this morning, who took these photos and a video we're going to show you right now, celebrating, again, what I think is one of the coolest and most important things in our sport, and that is JBB, Junior Big Boat Sailing. Rick Bannerow.
The last race was a nail biter. I'm going to turn this around, and we have Lawrence McGrath in the yellow PFD. He is the sailing director for Stanford Yacht Club, who's kind of been the mentor of the thing. We've got Siobhan, who's the Junior Big Boat coach, and we've got Evan, who is our skipper. Evan, you guys had to create a game plan on the fly in the second and third legs of the 4 legs of the final race. What was it?
So our game plan for the final legs was essentially we noticed a right shift as we were coming up the course on the upwind. So we decided we're going to go for a jibe set for our spinnaker because it was blowing 20 knots. So we weren't sure if the other boats were going to play spinnaker or not. So we decided we're going with spinnaker because we were a bit behind. And we hoisted our spinnaker. We had some mishaps with our spin bag as we were approaching the windward mark on the upwind. Our spin bag got in the water, so that was a bit scary. But we ended up rebowing the boats coming in because the starboard boats, because they ended up overstaying by about 2 or 3 boat lengths. So we were able to come in, jibe set. I think we're the only boat to jibe set it, right? Yeah, so we were able to just come down. We almost had a straight course to the line. We only had to jibe once before the finish. And it was just a really fast downwind. It wouldn't have been possible without my amazing crew here. Yeah. We all did great things today.
You got Gavin, you got Carrie, you got our a four-deck extraordinaire there, Harry. You got Michael, you got Taylor Nanny, you got Jack Hamilton.
What about Grace?
Oh, and Grace is back there.
Oh, you can't forget Grace.
Tactician. She was watching the compass.
All right.
So
hey,
thanks to her.
Congratulations. That looks like 2 of the round the buoy dorades back to back. The J105, how is that different from what you guys had last year with the Figaro?
So last year we trained in the Figaro, but we ended up sailing in the Dorade in a CNC 35.
So what you're saying is these young sailors can sail anything with a little practice.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Say hello to all the Fozy around the world.
Hello. Hello.
Take care.
Thank you.
How good is that?
That's fun. Yeah, that's fun.
Thanks, Rick. It's a little bit longer video than I would normally play, but fantastic stuff. Every club should be doing something like that.
Yes.
Right? JBB. We're going to use that. I talked to Rick this morning, and I said, what the hell does that mean? He says, Junior Big Boat.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, he sent me some texts and back and forth. But great stuff, and I'm going to continue to promote it, and I hope you all agree it's a good idea. By the way, Boomer Bland saying that picture of that Jenniker being eased, I thought the rules changed to only count the hull, not projection in the finish. That is true. And if I go back to that, I'll go back and show you that again, I think. That picture is they didn't ease the kite, the halyard, to try to project the sail forward to get some advantage. Even if you did that, that was not to be counted under the rules. But now the rules have been changed to make it quite specific that spinnakers do not count, only the hull, and I think not the crew even, just the hull and equipment in its normal position. I can't remember what the wording is now. Clark Chapin would know that.
Do not count for what?
Well, you used to ease your kite.
Yeah.
You maybe let it off a foot or two and hope the race committee didn't notice to get a little more projection to get yourself across the finish line ahead of your close-in competition. But the rules, Jay Frederick is quite correct, have changed, and you now cannot do that. Or if you do it, you don't count. You just count the hull going across the line. So not the sail. So it was a good change to the racing rules to make it simple. So
it wasn't speed in that case. It
What
was.
exactly? It was just to get your boat further ahead.
Yeah.
By easing the kite and letting it out at the last minute. And I would never do that.
And now you don't know how to do it either.
Ed Worley's giving the thumbs up to the JBB. That's outstanding youth enthusiasm. Jonathan Frank says, "Bravo Zulu JBB." Chris Exley. And the other cool thing, I mean, not only they'll say hi to the Fozy and all that, and they're probably all watching or will watch and replay.
Right.
And thanks again to Rick for getting that to us. But also, notice they've sailed different. It doesn't matter what they sail, whether it's a J105 or a J99 or one of these two or these other boats. It's the fact that in fact, the fact they're sailing different boats is in and of itself probably good.
Yes.
We grew up sailing, lots of different small boats, Thistle, Lightning, Flying Scot, Snipe, whatever the hell it was,
Yeah.
especially in the Sears Cup and some of these other regattas. The Sears Cup, our national triple-handed championship here in the U.S. But speaking of, let's look at smiles. Speaking of kids, this is from a photo from, all these photos are from this week. That photo of the kite ease, that's not an old photo. That's something Rick took, I think, on Monday or Tuesday, as all part of this charade, all part of this series of races. And Wednesday morning at dark 30, these kids had sailed an overnight race. Now they've got one adult, or maybe two, but I think one adult on each of these boats. And this is a crew that were sailing in what's called the Beach Point Yacht Club overnight, the junior overnight race. And same deal, part of this Dorade Cup, I think, or related to it. And look at those smiles. This is Bannero writing this text to me this morning. Look at those smiles after Mother Nature and Poseidon. Apparently they had a rough, windy, wet night. Kicked their butts all over Long Island Sound for 14 plus hours.
Mm-hmm.
Beach Point overnight. JBB, Junior Big Boat from Sanford Yacht Club. J105 Inevitable was the boat they were sailing. Photo credit from one of the parents, Vince Nanny, whose kid I think is second from the left. And he met them at the dock. Bravo Zulu to the kids. Bravo Zulu to Sanford Yacht Club. And everybody involved on Long Island Sound who do this and have been doing it for years. Cool stuff.
And did the Dorade come from the yacht?
Indeed. It's named after the yacht Dorade and the Dorade Cup in memory of that yacht, or in honor, I should say, because that yacht's still around. Obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well done. Cool stuff. Thank you, Rick Bannero, for a terrific segment again. Now, let's go to Kiel, Germany, where it's also photos from this week. It was a wet and wild start, windy opening day, I think it was Tuesday, at the ORC, Offshore Racing Council Worlds. They've gathered a bunch of boats, and they're using the ORC handicapping system in Kiel, series of around the buoys and also offshore races, mostly around the buoys. They blew out a main on this boat, obviously. And they had, thanks to that, Felix Weidling. You know who Felix is. He's our new race director this year at St. Francis Yacht Club.
Is he?
He's from Kiel. He ran the Kiel Week. He ran for a decade. He ran all the racing in Kiel, and we hired him away. Cool guy, smart guy.
How come I've never met him?
Well, because you're not down there in the race office causing chaos like you used to do. You go up there. Where are the results? Where are the results? Why don't I have my results? You'd be up there banging on the race office door, wouldn't you? That's what I hear.
No.
Not true?
Mm-mm.
I think it's true. But look at this. That is a wild shot. Well, there's
it is
more.
An incredible shot.
And they tried, this is from Sailing Anarchy, on the second day of the racing at this ORC championship, the persistent low pressure center in southern Scandinavia, so it's you Scandinavians that causes, continued to drive strong westerly winds into the Kieler Bucht. Accordingly, race managers from Kieler Yacht Club set a coastal course for classes B and C, with early leaders emerging in these classes after two races. But an unfortunate secondary effect of these strong westerly winds was to drive water to the east, thus lowering water levels in the west and causing the deep draft entries in Class A to remain at their slips at the venue in Schilksee Harbor due to a lack of depth to allow them to leave the marina.
Oh,
man.
Oh, how awful.
Yeah. Now, wait, there's more. This I couldn't tell from this photo, and again, the ORC Worlds, if this was a dismasting or it was a broach. And the more I look at it now, I think I can see the deck of the boat here pretty clearly.
Yes.
Here's the deck of the boat.
Right.
And I think it's now clear it was a broach. In fact, I checked with Felix Weidling this morning. He sent me this photo as well. said yes, he's in touch with these people, and he's saying, hey, what the hell's going on over there? And it was, look at this. That was a rough and wild.
Oh gosh.
And that resulted in a pretty good crunch to their bow pulpit, I guess. In any event, it's a great week of racing over there. I wanted to ask Andrew about all this because the IRC competes with the ORC for hearts and minds, including here in the U.S., where we're using ORC here at both on the East Coast and now on the West Coast. I wish they would get their collective act together here in the offshore world, but not yet. Beautiful photo.
Mm-hmm.
I think for last night, they had an overnight race that they shortened because just the opposite. It got very light, so they shortened it and finished in the wee hours of the morning. And they have one more day of racing tomorrow, the 12th, at the ORC Worlds being hosted in Kiel, Germany. Finally, in the photo and even video, this is my beloved 90-year-old father who has not sailed, let alone raced in some number of years. That is my brother Paul, Maui Paul, who's lived in Maui for 40 years, but he's back. He's back at the ranch, back at our home club, helping my dad with some projects, and convinced him to go yacht racing at Portage Yacht Club. I guess, I don't know if this was this week
Oh, that's
or
great.
last weekend, but there they are shooting the windward mark in a club-owned Flying Scot. I don't know if they hit it or not, but who knows. They're leading the pack. My brother's a good sailor, like most of the kids are. And of course, my mom and dad are good sailors. They get around, and it's no spinnakers, thank God. And in a Flying Scot, it's got those big, beautiful seats in the long cockpit. And they jibe, heading back downhill. And my dad, of course, is he going to set the whisker pole? They're not going to set a kite. No, he is going to handhold the jib to windward. And he's racing at age 90. Bravo, Zulu.
Yes, indeed.
Huh?
Yes, indeed.
How cool is that, Julia?
I'm proud of him.
Huh?
I'm proud of him.
I am too. That's great stuff. Thanks, Bill O'Donnell, for sending that. He's a past commodore of our home club in Michigan.
We should have a still of that.
Should we?
Mm-hmm.
You want a still of that?
Yep.
Okay, I'll push the button, and I've got a still of it now. A screen grab.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Friday's photos and a video there, as we were looking forward to our Fozy Andrew McIrvine coming on. But again, he's got he's in Cows, and apparently they've had a broadband problem there, he said. And we will have him on a week from today. But in the meantime, Julia, do you know what the Brits, at least, are celebrating today?
Looks like quiche to me.
Quiche. Real men eat quiche. Don't eat quiche. Remember that joke from the 70s or 80s? Today in the UK, Andrew, we dedicate this to you if you're watching, National Bakewell Tart Day. Now, Julie, have you ever heard of a Bakewell tart?
I'm sorry, I haven't.
Nor have I. And I'm not sure I ever want to, except they look good. Looks like all carbs, a lot of carbs. The National Bakewell Tart Day is celebrated on August 11th every year. This holiday is dedicated to all sweet tooth and dessert lovers. It highlights apparently, this is a big deal in England. Tell me if I'm wrong, you Brits. Highlights the English classic Bakewell tart, an English short crust pastry with layers of jam. How do you pronounce that?
Frangipane.
Frangipane? Looks like frangipani to me.
Yeah, frangipani. Yeah.
Chopped almonds and icing. It's also a day to discover its relevance in the English food culture, as well as its rich and long history over the years. From traditional Bakewell tarts to its more modern variations, dive into the delicious goodness this English dessert. Find out the ways you can celebrate national. I was going to ask Andrew, what the hell is a Bakewell tart? Do you really celebrate this?
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't do it next Friday because it won't be National Bakewell Tart Day in the UK. Oh, goodness. Now people are going to make fun of me.
Tart Day.
Well, that's why I put in the show notes, where's the late, great Bob Fisher when we need him? Because, one of his famous lines, I don't remember this, but he described, help me out in the comments, Fozy, but he described the all-female crew in the Round the World race,
Right.
The terrific British gal and her team. He described them as a tin full of tarts, that they weren't capable, they weren't the correct group to be racing in what was then the Whitbread race.
Right.
And then they won a leg. They won the leg into what? Auckland?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And he called them a tin full of tarts, but he met them graciously, gracefully, and said, I take it back, don't be mad.
I remember that, yeah.
It looks to me that they are just working on taking it down. Yeah, okay. They weren't taking it down. They're back on that kite that's eased. They're trying to they hoisted it. They'd had a flying jive, and they're trying to get it the last couple meters up, maybe 3 meters. A man on the phone, is this help for alcoholic? Yes, how can we help you? How do you make a mojito? Yeah, just see, back up, I saw Jody make a comment, and, he's very good. He's a very good friend of Leo Takahashi's.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a very good friend of Leo.
Oh, because he stayed there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Leo
yeah.
stayed there and trained there for some time up at Wanji. And Jody says, I thought Leo forgot grog. LFG. Let's friggin' go. Let's freaking go. What other comments do we have here? Steve Adkins, he's also put a couple comments on these photos. Thanks, Steve. Greetings from the bar porch at the MBC, his club there in Connecticut. Too windy for my daily sail. Closed captioning working well. Good. I think the main will need repair. Yes, I think that main will need repair. Groover, maybe the Doré trophy was donated in her honor, just like those Lipton cups. I grew up in Long Island Sound and love all the history. Long Island Sound, when there used to be wind, right? When you were there, Steve. Outstanding, good sir. Yep, wonderful inspiration to keep sailing for life. Tart Day, I love it. Augie Miller, August Miller, Gus Miller, as we know him, in his 90s, is still racing his fin. He raced at the North Americans, or was it the Nationals at North Cape Yacht Club the other day in southeastern Michigan. I'm very partial. Okay, here we go. Now we're finding out the Bakewell tart. I am very partial to a Bakewell tart, Gordon Smith says. Bakewell is a delightful town in my home hood. I didn't know that. I've heard it before, Holtzman says. Joe up in Estes, Colorado. Estes rhymes with testy. Estes, Colorado. It's tasty, tasty, tasty. Real men eat quiche. Real men don't eat quiche, a great book, Fritz Miller say.
Right.
I knew a gal from Portsmouth who was known as a Bakewell tart. Are there a variety? Yes, okay, Stingray. That almost deserved a finger wag.
Not quite.
The Bakewell tart was also a woman who was a bit of a floozy back in the 60s, Ryman says. Tarts in a tin, yep, they come from Bakewell in the Peak District. Graham Sweeney agreeing? Tarts? Anyone? Some tarts don't bake well. Watson is saying. Tart is also, yes, we know it's a loose description of a woman of ill repute, Graham Sweeney, but I love Bakewell tart, and now I know there is a day for them. I'm definitely involved. Is there a oh, come on, Stingray. Lola gets what Lola wants. Lola gets Lola tart. Bakewell tart rhymes with. Okay, you guys, don't be croutons anymore. I'm the chief crouton. I can say stupid things. But speaking of somebody who is not a crouton, we're delighted, as always, to have Coach's Corner with Super Fozy John Emmett, who's from Great Britain. But as we learned on Tuesday, he is in Den Haag. He's in The Hague, still coaching the teams in the ENP, the Emerging Nations Program, sponsored by World Sailing. Here's John's report from Den Haag, where the World Championships, the Allianz Sailing World Championships, are taking place the 10th through the 20th of this month.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Well, you join me out on the water here. As always, first of all, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on those notifications. And yeah, I'm going to show you a bit of training while we wait in sequence. It's interesting to hear Tom's views yesterday, rather on the last show, about the way that things have worked for world sailing. First thing, you need to have a positive approach, and sometimes things do not always go your way, and that is just the fact that you can learn from the experience. So personally, yes, I was disappointed that we didn't have a long enough rope. Marks didn't stay put. Hard to run the racing. And yes, it would have been nice if we had had the good equipment. But for me, it's a learning experience. So perhaps I couldn't have brought 5 anchors with me in a plane, but for sure I could have brought another 100 meters of rope, and that would have been a really good thing and would have solved the problem. So for me, I took that as a learning experience. And actually, the atmosphere here, of course, nothing's perfect, nothing is perfect ever in life, but I really enjoy having the Olympic classes together. All one sailing family, all the Olympic classes together. We only meet very rarely, and the other event being the Olympic Games, which is another special event. So yeah, for me it's been a very positive experience and something I've really enjoyed. Hopefully I've been able to show you all my emerging nations sailors here. This is their last day of training. They will have tomorrow off. You'll see some of them as registered and they have their bow numbers. But yeah, it's a fantastic project to be involved in. Makes you feel a really good coach because you have just so much improvement with the sailors. And this is a difficult venue. Right, that's it for now. Back to work. You might be able to hear in the background the whistles are going. And hopefully see you on the show.
Okay, we get, I was checking to be sure Julia's comments were working, and they are. Outstanding attitude, Jonathan Frank saying, John the emanator. Graham Sweeney saying, I was going to say that he could be the next foreign secretary, the diplomat that he is. Don't you think, Julia?
Oh, yes.
The next foreign secretary for the UK, John Emmett, the diplomat that he is. John Emmett sailing, get to the front of the fleet. That segment supplied by him every show. Cool stuff. Okay, Bravo Zulu. Speaking of that regatta, it's in its early days, so we're not going to get too carried away here, but there's some good news, especially for the U.S. We're actually leading one of the classes, but before we get to that, there are, at the Allianz Sailing World Championships in Den Haag, there are fully 1,400 sailors from 90 countries. It, Julia, is a big event.
Yes, indeed.
And John's diplomatic comments notwithstanding, I'm still hearing from people all over the place saying, yeah, it's happening, and hopefully it'll continue to happen, and we all learn from it, but it is a massive bun fight. Sorry to say it, and I still don't understand why, except follow the money, accept money. That's the real reason for doing this. You get a big fee from a venue, you try to get fees from sponsors. It's not about providing quality racing for sailors, in my not so humble opinion. But John is also right. They like to get together. It's nice to meet the whole Olympic sailing family and the Paralympic. They have 3 Paralympic classes there.
Yeah.
So
You said
those of you-
900 sailors, 80 countries for the parasailers.
Yeah, John was saying there's even, I think, 900 sailors from 80 countries for the para world. So
Yeah.
So good stuff. And here is one of 2 video reports. And then we've also got a nice report from the 49er and from the 49er FX and the NACRA 17 class, which is one kind of group of 3 classes together. But first, here's Lily.
Here I am at the opening ceremony of 2023 World Sailing Championship. We have more than 80 countries, 900 boats, and 1,400 sailors participate in this event. And what also make the history in record is, for the first time, we will have 14 medals decided in the next 10 days. So let the race begin.
I'm very, very happy. It's first day, first place, 2 place. It's very, very happy.
Come on, content. We are so happy because win the 2 first races is fabulous for us. But it's just the beginning of the regatta, so we have to confirm tomorrow.
2 races over 4 fleets of the parasailing world have been completed today. We may see a little bit more breeze over the next few days, so there's still a long way to go before we know who are the best sailor to win this year's title. Leave us a comment and let us know who you are supporting.
I don't know if John is learning from her or she's learning from John, but the 2 of them are really good.
Yeah, they may be learning from each other, which is even more exciting.
Well, she's she went to Southampton University in journalism communications.
I know.
and is doing a lot of work now for
Yes.
Sail GP, she did for the Around the World race, TOR.
She could well be the only Chinese
language
commenter in the sport.
Well, probably is.
Yeah.
Except maybe in China itself. Okay, Bravo Zulu, Lily, thank you for that. And yes, I was told this event was not going on, and it is. It clearly is part. It's at a different venue. It's separate, but they're having the Para Worlds as well. And by the way, Bravo Zulu to World Sailing for doing that, because if we're going to get the Para event back into the Olympics, parasailing back into the Olympics,
yeah,
we got to showcase it. And how better to do it than at an event like this? So,
right.
You know, sometimes you are caught between a rock and a hard spot, and we need to promote parasailing, and we need to get it back into the Olympics. So Bravo Zulu World Sailing on that. Now, some of the news from these three particular classes that we'll feature today. We'll talk about some of the others on Tuesday next week. But Ben Remacher, who is a FOSI, lives up in Vancouver and is the class manager for the 49er and the FX and the NACRA, sent a terrific press release out, photo essay, one of the best releases I've seen. Fin class does it, the Star class does it, but this is a nice effort by Ben, and not just because it's an American, but that helps me get a little more excited, because for the first time in memory, we've got a team at the top of one of these Olympic classes. Nevin Snow, who's from San Diego. I know his parents very well, and he's a former Gov Cup winner, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a hell of a good sailor. Nevin and Mac Agnesi, who won two of their three qualifying races to share the overall lead, as their American teammates are also each in the top 12. Setting up, because remember, this regatta is not only for bragging rights and for training, but also to get your country qualified by finishing well enough, high enough in the given class that your country then gets a slot into the Olympics next year.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S. is at least doing well in this particular class, the 49er. Snow is the U.S. College Sailor of the Year and has had flashes of brilliance in the 49er heretofore, but also an up-and-down career so far. In teaming up with Mac Agnesi, a member of the 2019 America's Cup American Magic team, he's formed a stable partnership. How important is the crew? It is so important. And an upward trajectory on his Olympic sailing career.
Oh, that sounds promising.
So it does sound promising. And Bravo Zulu to them and everybody in these classes, because the racing's been tough, it's been tight. The USA 84 there on the left is Ian Barrows and Hans Heinken. And US 43 is also there in that photo, Andrew Molleris and I hope I pronounced that right, Andrew, and Ian McDermott, heading to a 4 and 3 finish respectively. Also winning two races were Diego Botín and Florian Triddle, fresh off their seminal, I wouldn't have chosen that word, but it's okay, their Sail GP win. Remember, they won.
Mm-hmm.
In LA, to sit tied with the Americans on 2 points overall. So it's good to see these kids coming out of the America's Cup, coming out of Sail GP, going back into an Olympic class.
Yeah.
And let's see how Leo is going to do in that same competition. So too are the other teams that are tied for third at this early, it's very early stage, so it's early days. But Wang and Chi from China, the Fantella brothers from Croatia, and the, how do you say that? Przbytek and Piasecki from Poland, each on 4 points. 19 nations sit within the 25 place cutoff for Gold Fleet, showing the increasing depth of 49er racing globally.
That's neat.
A good point. Good point, Ben Remacher. Asia has had its best ever day in the 49er, with China, Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan, as well as India, all making the Gold Fleet standard.
Wow.
Looks
good.
like they're going to in the hunt for getting a slot into the Olympics. Asia has been purchasing 40% of the world's 49ers since 2012, and as the depth and focus have improved, now the results are too.
That's nice to know.
That is nice to know. And let's see, down the bottom, Hans Henkel on 84 is also the USA flight controller in Sail GP. That's right, a Stanford guy, Julia.
Can't be all bad.
Can't be all bad. What's going to happen to your school now with college sports.
Ask me that later and I'll tell you.
Okay. Chris actually going up the comments. I know Ian Barrows, sailed with him in Boston Harbor 2 years ago. Amazing sailor and an awesome young man. Steve Gruber's replying to Ken Saban. That's a great boat. Parasailing really needed to do this to show the IOC that sailing should be back on the Paralympic slate. Totally agree, Gordon Smith. Totally agrees. I said a moment ago. Thanks for reinforcing that. Ken Saban, yeah, he's listening. Ken likes to listen to the show. We're trying to bear that in mind, Julia, too, that more and more people do listen to the show.
Yes.
And that's why I'm starting to voice some of the videos that don't have audio and so on.
Right.
So anything that we can do to help you all by way of more of a podcast instead of a video podcast, so that those of you who are working, it's a long show and you're working around the house, working in the office, working in the boat shop, as Ken Saban is doing. Any other comments? Lily is great. Alistair Murray, thumbs up.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic weather forecast for day one of the Ilkas. Good. So, John, thank you for all of that. And thank you to Ben Remacher for this. Here is the overall in the 49er. And no surprise. Except Snow and Agnesi, frankly, are a surprise, pleasant surprise for probably everybody, because I'm sure not only here in the U.S., but people would love to see the Americans start to get their Olympic act back together.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of Olympic acts, you know who that is? And speaking of Fozy, Olivia the Divia, Olivia Price
Good.
and Evie Hazeldine from Australia sit tied on top. They're tied with another team with a win, a second, and a fourth in the 49er in the FX. Price won silver at as you all know, she's been on this show a number of times, at the 2012 games in the match racing, the women's match racing. And the pair have been pushing hard all season with a 12th in Palma, an 11th in the air, and a 10th at the test event. Price had retired from sailing following the Australian sailing decision not to send an FX to the Rio Games, Alistair Murray. It wasn't his decision. But came back for the chance to sail with Evie about a decade her junior. The pair grew up together as family friends and are now forming a partnership that has all the pedigree to reach the elite levels of the FX fleet. So bravo Zulu to them. And I think for sure Olivia, and I think the two of them are also doing the Australian Women's America's Cup team. I think they're doing that together. I don't know for sure about Evie, but I know that Olivia, because we had her announcement on this show, right?
Yeah, I forgot that.
So cool stuff. And absolutely no surprise in the NACRA. These are not quite a shoe-in for the gold, but if you had to place a bet this far out, you would be betting on Tita and Ruggero Tita and Caterina Bonti. The free bullets to start the 2023 World Championships with this pair from Italy sees the pair start this Worlds in the same dominant form they won the last Worlds. The defending gold medalists were the last team to launch this morning, cool and calm as ever, and then went out to do their business. The pair were not the Italian representatives at the test event last month, so perhaps the test event, remember, was in Marseille. So perhaps the only thing they have left to prove is the Italian place in Paris 2024. They're going to get a place. While it's only day one, the marker they dropped is no accident. The three other Italian teams are each also in the top 20 so far.
Gosh, good.
So that's good focus, isn't it, Julia, on
Yes.
three of the classes. We'll do some more specialization with John Emmett's help on Tuesday. And I just will wrap up now with a video from, it's another video from one of the three reporters, and just by way of wrapping up this event.
Day one of the 2023 Allianz Sailing World Championships here at The Hague. It didn't disappoint today. 10 knots, lots of current, 4 fleets racing. Today, kind of one of the big stories of the day was the 470 mixed. This is the first time that 470 mixed has been in the Olympics. It's going to be in the Olympics in Paris. And the Japanese were the surprise of this whole thing. Miho and Keiju, and they are Japan 8, and they're winning the series with a 1-4. Really strong, couple points ahead of 2 Chinese boats. But the big story with the Japanese team is that of the 4 Japanese boats in the mixed 470 here at the World Championships, 3 of the 4 are in the top 10. Also coming in today that we got the scores with, we have the Americans of Nevin Snow and Mac Ignacy in the 49er. They have an 18-1-1. What a fantastic day. There's only 5 points that separate the top 10 in the 49er fleet. This whole fleet has really risen in terms of their performance level. Everyone's on their game leading up to trying to qualify for the Olympics. But towards the end of the day, this kind of breeze came in, filled into around 15 knots. The NACRA 17s and the 49er FX are out there right now towards the end of the day, and they are really making it happen. We're excited to see how those results are. We'll get those results to you. Please take a look at the YouTube channel and make sure you ring that bell. That'll notify when we go live towards the end of this event, and you don't want to miss it. Check it out on all our channels and keep watching this space.
Good reportage. That's another Fozy, Jamestown, Rhode Island. And of course, Nick Douglas, who's also been on this show from Australia, is the third kind of field reporter. And the whole thing is being held together by, I think, probably the best reporter in our sport, Shirley Robertson from Great Britain. Don't you think she's terrific?
She's been absolutely.
Okay, so that's the update from Den Haag from the Allianz World Sailing Championships. We were going to have Andrew on at this point, as we mentioned, and I have this photo for you, Julia. I know how much you like this photo from the Fastnet 2 years. That's a 2021 Fastnet, but it's just such a
Did
fabulous.
I get a still of that?
Pardon?
Did I get a still of that?
You can get a still of anything you want.
Yes.
Madam Commodore.
Yes.
And we'll get you that. And we were going to have Andrew tell us about the Fastnet races, his observations. I've dropped a couple things out of here, but just the Cows Week then, which he raced in 29th of July through the 4th of August. Have him fill us in on that. And then also the RC44s that are racing in Cows this week. Cows Week was last week. An interesting story here. In the RC44 race underway by the Royal Yacht Squadron, Bullet, the all-female team led by local legend Louise Morton, may be lying last at the end of day one, but this in no way reflects their performance. Notably, in the second race, Bullet was leading by the first beat, only to be edged out at the top mark by Team Aqua, a veteran RC44 team, and Charisma, and then subsequently lost places. Quote, "We absolutely loved it," said Morton. Quote, "We have only had 3 days sailing in the boat prior to today. We hadn't lined up against anyone before the practice race yesterday. They're cracking boats, really good fun to sail, requiring really good crew work. Everyone needs to work with each other. There is plenty going on, and the racing is really tight." She likes the word really.
Really,
we have
really, yes.
had a really good day. Louise Morton, bravo Zulu to you and your team. First all-female team in the RC44. Nice to see that happening. I'm sure Andrew Pindar likes to see that happening as well. And then we're going to get a Maxi update. Lots of things coming up now in the Maxi world. And this is Hap Faustboat Bellamente, Hap, of course, the stalwart New York Yacht Club member and chairman or co-chairman of the New York Yacht Club's American Magic AC team, and his Botin 72, as we said, called Bellamente. Andrew, I'm sure a week from today when we get him on, when he hopefully has a good internet connection at home in London, fill us in on the upcoming major Maxi events.
The birth of the girth of that.
The girth
of that boat is it
you
unbelievable.
I won't make any jokes about girth. Huh? Stingray, where are you? I need a joke about girth here. Oh, please, no, I don't. I like this rap video. Yeah, Gordon Smith agreeing that. Go the girls. Jody Shields is saying 1,400 sailors walk into a bar in Den Haag.
I know.
Jonathan Frank. TFE, IMHO, if you read the comments from the top down, there will be more. Yeah, I agree, Steve. I try to do that, but for technical reasons, sometimes I start at the bottom and just go up, and I won't bore you with the technical reasons why, but I do try to, as I've done all until that last reading from the top down, but I'll tell you why offline, but it's no big deal. It's just technically. Now, I was also going to ask Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvine to talk about not only COVID and this ERIS. ERIS is the new strain that nobody seems too concerned about, but this persistent excess deaths issue, which Dr. John Campbell keeps flagging, or some would say flogging, but it is an issue. People are concerned about it, from Australia to Canada to the Scandinavian countries to the UK, and even now it's starting to get attention here. even here in the U.S., because there is something going on, whether it was depression, whether it was lack of medical attention, whether it was the vaccine, whether it was COVID itself, or some combination thereof. The number of excess deaths above the kind of normal
Death rate.
baseline,
Yeah.
the baseline is significant. We'll get Andrew to talk about that next Friday when he's on with a stable internet connection. This was also for Andrew. This day in history. I dug this up somewhere. I'm not sure where. It wasn't on my normal Facebook pages or websites from which I dig this stuff up. Do you know, Julia, what happened on this date? It's sailing related, too, in 1971. See if any of our Brit friends know.
71.
Oh, Stingray's coming up. I'm not going to read that, Stingray. Yeah, Graham Sweeney's saying, and the WHO have concerns with the COVID vaccine and multiple sclerosis, MS. I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So where were we here? On this day in 1971, here is your first and only clue. Do you know that trophy, Julia?
Yes.
It's just been resurrected. That is the Admiral's Cup that was contested in the IOR day so well and for so long, and then fell off the map here a few years ago and has now been resurrected by the RORC. Graham Sweeney knows it's the Admiral's Cup, and related to the Admiral's Cup, in 1971, this gentleman, yeah, everybody knows it, Gordon Smith, Chris Exley. Who is that? And what's the significance on this day in history, 11th of August, 1971?
He's their admiral.
He is not the admiral, but close. He was the admiral of the UK. That is Prime Minister Edward Heath.
It is.
On his yacht Morning Cloud. Heath, Ted Ryman's got it, Sweeney's got it. And that is his second of 4 or 5 Morning Clouds. He was a keen racing sailor. And in 1971, while he was the PM, the British Admiral's Cup team won the Admiral's Cup, beating the U.S., who were the previous holders, and Australia, who ended up third. The British PM, Edward Heath, was captain of the British team.
Well, that's nice.
Prime Minister Heath. That boat didn't sink. He had another boat, Ted Ryman's. He had, Morning Cloud 1, 2, 3, and 4, was it? 4? And then after Morning Cloud 2, after they won the Admiral's Cup, he had some problems with some boats. And reputedly, after the 79 Fastnet and the tragic 79 Fastnet with all the death, he gave up sailing and then died, I think, in the mid-2000s, 2005, something like that. Don't recognize him without his pipe, Julie Ahrens is saying. Mm-hmm. He presented the trophies at the 69 Opti Worlds in Stokes Bay. Fritz Mueller, what a great memory that is. That was Harold Wilson, Gordon Smith is saying, who had the pipe, right? Harold Wilson? How do I remember his first name was Harold? I don't know anything about the UK or UK politics. On this day in history, 11th of August, Britain wins the Admiral's Cup with the sitting Prime Minister as the team captain.
That's terrific.
We need, Julia, more sitting Prime Ministers and presidents.
Yes, who sails.
I still submit that the reason sailing was so popular in this country was because from the 60s on was not just fiberglass, low maintenance fiberglass and Dacron, but because
JFK,
the Kennedys, and the whole Kennedy family, and sailing, whether it was their sailfish, or their Wiano Senior, or his starboat, or his big boat. You had a big offshore boat. Sure beats the boat's original name, Morning. Oh, Stingray. Terrible Stingray. Okay, I can't even. I'm afraid to read any other comments, Julie. I'm not afraid to read the comments on first blush, but Stingrays, I got to sort of read them, and then. So I think we need more PMs and presidents. We should elect a president who is a sailor, Julia.
Good idea. We're sort of liking them now.
What? Presidential sailors or sailing presidents?
Both.
Okay, now here's an announcement that I don't know about this. It's true. I'm not asking you whether it's true or false, but whether this announcement is, whether it will come to fruition in a big way or not. Is it correct or Crutonic, big picture, long term? But overnight it was announced that the AC40 class has been formed and is going to do a Grand Prix circuit with private owners. Your opportunity to fly.
Okay.
With 9 AC40s already launched and 3 more currently in production, the AC40's exclusive builder, McConaughey Boats, has a strong mandate. Yeah, right. Has a strong mandate from private owners and syndicates to create a new Grand Prix circuit for the AC40s, the AC40 class. The class is administered by an AC40 management group comprising Emirates Team New Zealand, McConaughey Boats, and Ancaster International Boat Sales, with Luca Rosati, who's a Fozy, been on this show a couple times, appointed as the class manager. The group is responsible for the events calendar, the one design specification, including autopilot development, sponsorship opportunities, class rules and admin, class representation. Are you excited? The class is organizing video conferences to discuss the plans, from events to shared services, on the 31st of August and the 5th of September. To join the calls and for all other inquiries, please get in touch with the class at info@ac40ca.org. So I ask you, is this new class, which sounds a lot like the F50 that grew out of the America's Cup and Russell and Larry circuit, is this correct or Crutonic?
I think we'll find out.
Well, we will find out for sure, but what do you think in the meantime? Let's see. Luca is the class manager. Yes, Gordon Smith knew, so he read the release. Crutonic, GD just trying to stick it to LE and RC. He didn't say RC, but I think that's what you meant, Bill Wingrove. Ed Worley says it's correct. If it gets them out of the AC, let TNZ make the money. Okay. Correct. Very cool boat, Alistair Murray is saying. Gordon Smith, great. Go for it. Chris Exley, correct. It was inevitable. It's all a big circus. I don't know what that means, Graham Sweeney, if you think it's correct or Crutonic. Stingray, 2 big cycles of AC40. I think this is clean. AC45 racing. The second cycle as foilers was a lot of fun. Okay. Steve Gruber agrees that it's correct. How that was the plan all along, yes. Hence the autopilot and all battery power for the foil adjustments. I think the grinders only operate the sails and they only go in and out a few inches anyway. Ted Ryman says it's correct. Jonathan Frank says it's correct.
Wow.
More eyes on more boats.
Okay.
Okay. So most of you think it's correct. What do you think, Julia?
It's not my boat. So
Not your type of boat.
no.
Not your kettle of fish?
No.
Okay. Well,
But I mean, I wish them luck.
Well, I do too. And I'm generally, first of all, it's private. I like the idea that it's not a world sailing thing. It's not some governmental thing. It's private funny. They're putting their own money at risk. They're putting their own ideas here. And I'm all for it. Let's see if it happens. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, nothing.
Well, more people, more eyes and boats. You know, that can't be all bad.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But this is a zero, not quite a zero sum thing, but it will take people off other classes and other boats to sail these things. Inevitably it does. But maybe it helps support the America's Cup big picture long term. We shall see. We all agree that this is a foiling world now. It's foiling going forward. Andrew Pindar and Luca and others would remind us of that. Jody Shields, cue the popcorn. Also Crutonic, the continuing trend to reduce the number of sailors required. Ed Worley saying, yeah, well done, Julia. It dilutes our sport. Graham Sweeney, I think he thinks it's Crutonic. And Julia, I'm kind of feeling that way. That's the one downside to this. Will these boats replace the Cats in Sail GP? Good question, Ed Worley. There is no bad press. All ink is good ink. Steve Gruber, I think, is what he means by that. Okay, gets us through correct or Crutonic. A couple of America's Cup videos, short ones. I think we should pay attention to both. Have a look at this first one from Ineos. It came out literally just before we went there. I managed to grab it and get it in the show.
Our first impressions of Barcelona are
David
it's a
N.D.,
great
their
place, a lot of
COO.
tourism and a very busy place. But I think for us that really adds to the excitement of getting here. There's glimpses of 5 other teams at the moment. That heightens the competition for the guys, so things are starting to sort of really drop into place and you realise what we're doing here and what it's all about. We've only moved from Palma, so it's not like we've moved a great distance, but I don't think it changed the workload on the team. We tried to be really efficient with our sailing program in Palma right up until the last day, and we've had 5 weeks of downtime while we moved everything from Palma to Barcelona. It's been a big ask for the team to pack the boats up, relocate to this base, finish the base so we could be operating properly. And in that time we've serviced our, both of our yachts and a lot of the chase boats, and so it's been a bit of a beep test for the whole team really to get in here, but it's a full credit to everyone in the team to sort of dig in the last 5 weeks and get us here to being sailing operationally in a good place. It's a big stepping stone for us to have T6 back on the water this week. A lot of the major milestones for our raceboat design might have passed, but there's still a lot more that we can learn from having our own design on the water. So we've got some key design dates coming up in the next 2 to 3 months. T6 is a massive part of making sure we answer those questions with as much information as we can. So we'll have a bit of a balance in the next couple of months between preparing for the AC40 events, but also meeting the technical team requirements of getting information out of T6, plus the sort of final approach of raceboat design. So it's getting pretty exciting, and you're in this environment here now where you see all the other teams over the fence and you see them out in the water regularly, so that's pretty motivating and gets everyone sort of G'd up in itself.
I liked it.
He did that well.
Now, he's a cool guy. It's his dad or his brother. Richard Endine's his dad, isn't it? Who I know, he's a Kiwi. Andrew Pindar says sailing is not a zero-sum game. Well, I started to say that, Andrew, and I agree that it's not completely a zero-sum game, but it is to some degree. I mean, the people now are going to go into this class that maybe would have sailed TP52s or sailed GP or something. So there is a little bit of displacement or replacement, but hopefully it will get more people into the sport, more people watching the sport. And Andrew agrees with most of you that it is correct. He says, in my estimation, his estimation. Anything else? But I like that. I agree with you, Julie. I like that update from them. And now we've got an update from ETNZ's shore operation.
This is Emirates Team New Zealand Chase 2.
We've only got 3 of us in our department, but we managed to keep ourselves pretty busy. Young Nick Yates is 21. He's very good at driving a boat, and we also need him just to lower the average age of on-water ops a little bit.
Well, it's a pretty special group, only being 3 of us. They've got plenty of experience combined between them, so learning lots the whole time. You learn more than one new thing every day, that's for sure.
Tony Ray, he's the other end of the spectrum. He's probably forgotten more than Nick Yates will ever learn. I mean, a wealth of experience. I think this is his 9th cup.
I'm Trey. My name's Tony Ray, but no one's going to ever call me that. I've always been Trey, since 1985 actually.
It starts well before we get on the water, to be honest. We're involved in getting the yacht ready to go on the water and putting the boat in the water. Then we'll take the boat off the dock, and our primary job is just to make sure that the boat's running all day and sailing whenever it can. It goes from very, very deep water here straight into very shallow onto the beach basically, and so you get quite a short, steep chop. So that's a challenge. Generally the chase boats will have someone from every department out with us. When you've got 16 people on board a high-speed boat doing 50 knots, you've got to make sure that everyone's safe and comfortable and still able to work. And we're set up for it, but that's the biggest challenge now is just keeping everyone safe on the water.
One of my roles is the on-water medic. We all know about the medical emergencies, but a lot of the time it's a plaster, a bit of tape, and so I tend to just carry this little bum bag, got little bits and pieces in it that I can quickly jump on board the boat without getting the kit out. And it's just trying to be as prepared as possible for whatever may happen. Apart from that, it's pretty much supporting the team, the crew, whatever is needed on the boat and if needed.
There's a lot of different components on these chase boats. Looking after them is quite a big job. We're sort of doing a little bit of everything every day, but that keeps it interesting and exciting.
We have a motto, look the part, be the part, and I think we fall into that. You've got to be enjoying it as much as you've got to be prepared for when there's an emergency or a problem. So, and just, you know, I muck around with boats all day. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? I love videos like that, and I don't know if it's from being on so many America's Cup teams over the years. I love it when they feature the various departments and all the things that go into making it happen. Well done, ETNZ.
Yeah, there's a lot too.
There's a lot to it. And speaking of which, I mean, now we're on to the key issue. Can you buy one of these boats and be competitive with an America's Cup team, a private owner? I mean, let's say the Fosey got together, we pocketed the pool of money, we put Pindar in charge of the logistics, and we got Bill Canfield and Taylor to drive it and yada, yada.
Mm.
You know, it's still a huge effort. And when you are not an America's Cup team, to put and maintain, presumably the league is going to maintain the boat and move it around on a joint effort, but it's a big effort. And whether a private, as Jonathan Frank is talking about, a private individual can pull that off, we'll see. Where are we here? I'm up at Bill Canfield. Is the 40 a boat? And yeah, okay, this is what he was saying. Is the 40 is the 40 a boat an individual owner can keep running? Seems a bit complicated without a full team. That's my point exactly, Bill. Okay, Stingray opens up the free market for many sailors. I hope you're right, Jonathan Frank. I have a feeling that I'm with Bill Canfield. I think it's tough. Luca Craig's got a colleague at work who's going over to Barcelona, is going to get out and see the AC boats. And here's an interesting comment from Andrew Pindar. I can picture Taylor Canfield on one, Bill. Speaking to Bill Canfield, his dad, though I gather he's going to be busy on something else, with a wink of the eye. Yeah, I think it's starting to look like Taylor is going to end up with the American Sail GP team.
Yeah.
That's what one is hearing. Replying to Bill Canfield, nope, too much tech. Yeah, Worley is agreeing that maybe it's a bit much. What else has far more action in Sail GP? Well, it's got more traction now. We'll see if this other league, if these boats get traction. We've seen in all the foiling classes that team time in the boat is paramount. It's not like the ID, that 1D, the one design 48s and the one design 35s programs where skilled sailors could just jump on board at the next event. Yeah, I think that's for sure right, Fog Machine. That is for sure right. Julie, anything else on all that?
Nope.
That gets us to the last leg. Love this painting. Anybody wants to do another last leg? I could maybe move that J10, is it J99, that photo with the kids with a kite that's not all the way up to the top of the rig. I could move that to the last leg because they were actually on the last leg when Rick Bannerow took that photo. But hey, here's our last leg and this is a Sail GP video. Interesting.
It was by coincidence, obviously. You know, I often heard that there's a lot of parallels between sailing at very high class and racing on the track, which I know probably a lot better. But yeah, then through Thomas, who was the initiator of the German team, I got into it and heard about it, learned about it, and got more and more hooked. I'm not a sailor myself yet, so maybe to be, but that's how it all started. Very exciting. Tried windsurfing, that was as close as I got, but now it's fascinating to see that there's a whole other world, which does, as I said, has a lot of things in common. To understand the element of wind is very difficult because you can't grab it. I think watching now on TV is a lot easier than back in the day because you got all the graphics, so you understand actually who is leading and what's going on. You see where the wind's coming from and what's most likely to happen. In the end, it's all about details, and that's what every team seems to be looking for.
That's awesome, guys, honestly. That is absolutely mint.
Well, I think for sure by nature it's more sustainable. I mean, it's powered by nature, so obviously that's very exciting. Once it gets the lift and foils, it's pretty incredible. Also to stand on land and see it is pretty cool. Well, it's still early days. Obviously, if you look at, as far as I understand, where the team comes from, Eric comes from, I think it's a big shot. I think we are happy with how the first event went and looking forward to the second one.
Now, did I miss it, or was there no lower third on that? That for those of you who are F1 fans, you'll know that was Sebastian Vettel, is German. He said he learned about sailing.
He says, "I'm no sailor."
Well, he had done a bit of windsurfing, but he retired from F1 last year, 2 years ago, 2022. He was with 3 or 4 different teams, including Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston Martin. He's one of the most successful drivers in F1 history. I mean, the guy's been around. And he's now a co-owner of the German Sail GP team. And that's why that video, I should have done a better job of setting that up.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I thought they would, do that with lower thirds and something, but it's not. That Sail GP course is dark. There's no regatta this month. What is the next one in Saint-Tropez from memory? I can't remember.
We should go and find out.
I should not go and find out. I got so much going on. Meg getting married in October and stag cruise and all the other stuff going on. Yeah, there's some good, interesting points here. Are they going to do it in knots or in kilometers per hour in that new series, that AC40 series? Furlongs per second, Pindar said. Sebastian will be a great addition to Sail GP, Ted Ryman says. I agree. I don't know him. I never met him in F1. He came into F1 after I was long gone, but Julie Aaron's good point. AC boats are very complex and still evolving. They require an experienced crew. Sail GP, the demolition derby of sailing. Not really. In fact, I'm surprised, Ed, how little crash and burn there's been in that circuit. There seems to be a lot more in the AC40s, the LEQ12s, and we'll see. You can tell it's not real sailing when they do not use standard nautical terms like knots and helm. Yeah. I agree with you, Bill, but Saint-Tropez Stingray is saying 9 to 10th of September in Saint-Tropez is the next Sail GP event. And we'll start to look at that as we get closer to the end of this month, almost the end of August. Well, not really, middle of August.
Well,
bloody hell. And we're to show 640 now. It's hard to believe.
How can that be?
Yeah, Jody says 4 sailors, talking again about, I guess, about the AC40s, 4 sailors and 16 support staff. The USA won last season in Saint-Tropez. It was blowing. Well, we'll see how that goes, and we'll see if indeed Taylor Canfield ends up with that team, as some people are speculating. I'm not going to do winners of the day and losers of the day, croutons of the day. We're an hour and a half into the show, and I feel so bad about Lahaina. I think the poor folks there they will come out of this as Southern Yacht Club and any number of other clubs have done. And I'm talking about the yacht club, but let's forget about the club for a minute and just talk about those the whole island, particularly the west end of the island.
Yeah, right? They are unique in that they have no supply chains.
Yeah, that's true.
And anything they get has to come by air or by sea from far away.
Well, it's all supply chain. It all has to come from some place. And that's why things are so expensive on Hawaii.
Yeah.
On Hawaii. Okay, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, some good cartoons, mostly sailing related, water related. Turns out his condom had 2 big holes in it. Who sent that? It was either Ryman or Sweeney, right?
Sweeney,
You can tell. I don't know where they come up with these things. There must be some Facebook page or website where they get these, but they are great contributors, especially to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot here. My advice is eat more food from the ocean. Swim, you fat bastard. I don't know. I think it's the only thing that I eat, that we eat here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, that's bad for you is bacon. I love bacon. I'm always going to eat some bacon. I don't eat a lot of it, but got to have bacon, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's good for you.
Is it?
Yeah.
Makes me happy. I know that. Graham Sweeney. And by the way, I found, he sent me a picture. I just think he also is the classic Fozy.
Yes.
I got to get a picture of Ryman too, because we, put in, because he gives us so many good cartoons. Here's one. The sea is the last free place on earth. And there were a bunch of comments on the Facebook page where this was posted. And this is from Lisa Contreras. Contreras. Yeah, I think I pronounced that right. Humphrey Bogart, who was a sailor, as you all know, he had a big boat here in San Francisco for a long time in SoCal. I'm not sure it's a free place on earth. It costs a lot of money to maintain a big boat, maybe not so much a small boat. Okay. With the weekend approaching, get your ass on your boat and enjoy some time on the water. Of course, it's already the weekend down under in Oz and New Zealand, NZ, where it is Saturday morning. And I couldn't go with this because it had no sail on it, so I put a sail on it, Julia. Rich Fishbeck sent that. Thank you, Rich. And there, I put a sunfish sail on it. That took me a half an hour this morning to do that silly graphic.
I can believe that.
That took too much time. And finally, what's the secret to life? Reef early and reef often. I was going to put that at the top of the show with all those damaged mainsails and other crash and burn stuff, but that's nice, isn't it? A lot of you sent that. That must have shown up somewhere on a cartoon site, but really true. Steve Gruber said that Humphrey Bogart brought his boat to Cedar Point Yacht Club. Bogart, Flynn, Epson, Buddy Epson, all great sailors indeed. As are all of you. Smith said, I had a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich for lunch today, which was just an excuse to eat bacon. Oh, this is nice. Rain Spooner. Rain Spoon, but he means Rain Spooner, I'm sure, is contributing sales of its, and notice it's its, because Rain Spooner is not a he. Is contributing sales of its Lahaina series clothing to relief efforts. That's nice.
Oh, that's good.
That's nice to know. Down again at the bottom, it's the only place where one can feel completely free. I think that's more the point. No news to suffer through. Well, these days you can have your news and sail too, right? Yeah, Rain Spooner is the combination of two different names. I had to research that.
And they
like Ruth's Chris, the steak chain here. It's two different people. What you were saying?
Oh, Rain Spooner is vital to Hawaiian life.
Well, and does those fantastic. That company does those fantastic Hawaiian shirts.
Absolutely.
Which we use for the stag cruise among, I mean, I'm now, and I'm not a collector like some people are, like Sangmeister and any of the number of our friends down at the SoCal Yacht Clubs. They have a whole closet full of them. And
Conrad did too.
Did he?
Yeah.
I've got 4 or 5, and I think that feels to me like a big collection. By the way, I also hear that the Islanders are asking Oprah and Larry and Mark Zuckerberg, who's got a place out there, and whoever else, Jeff Bezos, to help.
Yes.
The billionaire boys and girls to help with the efforts out there. Of course, President Biden declared it an emergency, and no doubt the full faith, because it's heavily Democratic Party supported, and no doubt President Biden wants to support his voters in Hawaii. I don't know. It's always they're going to support the Democrat Party. Ian Murray is in Barcelona to begin testing the new race equipment for ACE, Stingray says. Okay. Steve Gruber's talking about Cedar Point Yacht Club in Connecticut. Terrific club, small boat club, mostly small boat club. Thanks, Alistair Murray. We'll get a quadruple A out of Alistair probably pretty soon. Jody Shields, I have a feeling that there will be soon a whole heap of unlicensed boats on the market soon. Yeah. Thanks, Gordon Smith. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, everybody, as we get through this one. Julia, your witness.
Yes, please follow, and share with your good friends.
Well, we appreciate that. And comments are welcome, even in replay. Those of you watching, we leave comments open. We hope, too, that you will support us. Become a patron, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us $1 or $2 or $5 or more a month to help keep us on the air. Thank you to all those who gave us audio, video, and images, photos for today's show. A lot of the same group as Tuesday's show. And Julia, last word?
I just have to wish everybody in Maui strength. They'll get through it.
They'll get through it. We always do. Ringo Starr has had a 500-acre estate next to Oprah's on the east coast of Maui. We saw it once. Stunning. Yeah, the late, great George Harrison had a place out there, too. Thank you, Fritz Mueller. Thank you, Ted Ryman. Thank you, Jonathan Frank. Thanks to all of you. We hope you have a great weekend wherever in the world you are. We'll do this again on Tuesday, same time, same channel. And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.